Hello everybody. Firstly, let me just say I hope you all had an amazing Samhain. I hope you all had really good rituals, really great experiences, and yeah, just hope it went well for you all. My friends that are down under, I hope you again had a great Beltane and you all had a good time. Okay, so I wanted to do this particular vlog concerning the Red Mill, or the Housle. Now, firstly, let me just explain what this is, the idea and the concept behind this. Now, this rite is normally done towards the end of a ritual, of a spell, or a charm, or a particular ritual. And the idea is that the witch will give the powers in which they work with offerings of bread and of mead. Now, traditionally, this is bread and mead, but there are various different variations of this. For instance, there is a variation of the Housle called the Red Mill, and the idea is it represents blood and flesh, and it's the idea that comes from blotting that used to occur when sacrifices were made to the gods and to the spirits. And so, of course, we have the dark bread that represents the flesh, and then we have the wine that represents the blood. This is normally mixed together as well towards the end of a rite. However, again, various different traditions that can differ. I've seen the Red Mill done with oat cakes. I've seen the Red Mill done with rolls, scones, scones, whatever. It depends. I've seen various different variations of this. Now, by giving this to spirit, the witch will then dedicate it to spirit. But before they'll dedicate it all to spirit, and then they will intake a bit of the bread, and then toast the spirits with the alcohol, and then partake of the alcohol. So, the idea behind this, in essence, is that it is a sacred communion. It is a communion betwixt yourself and your spirit companions. Now, this ritual is really, really handy. It's a really good ritual. It's a really good way to link in with the spirits, with the ancestors, spirits of the land, any familiar spirits you may work with, or if you work with a particular deity. This is also good as well, and it's just good for bonding and forming a link with these spirits. Now, by forming a link and bonding and having a sacred communion with these spirits, you become the otherworldly, and by becoming the otherworldly and being involved and linked in with it, we can then cast magic a lot more effectively. You can if you don't do the Housle and the Red Mill, don't get me wrong. However, it's a good way to do it. It's a lot more effective. Some people may Housle for a week before doing a big spell or a big ritual, may just keep giving and linking in with the spirits of the land and the ancestors before they actually go ahead and do a spell. And this just adds impact. It's just forming a more closer relationship with your spirit friends. Now, there is another particular branch of witchcraft that also uses this, and they call this the Troyl Rite. And this is a particular branch that I more or less follow. The Troyl Rite means bewitched feast, basically. This is the idea, it's the bewitched feast. It's the same thing, in essence. However, I don't really want to go into depth about that because I feel that I am just starting out learning about that particular current, that particular pathway of witchcraft. So I don't want to, I don't want to act like a big know-it-all, because I'm not, and I'm only just starting out, so I don't feel like I have enough experience in order to talk about that. Now, let's just get a couple of authors' different opinions on this, because this is a good thing to do. There's a couple of authors, well respected as well within the traditional witchcraft community, that have a lot to say on this. Now, in concerns of the Red Mill, I believe, was made up by Mr. Robin Artisan. Now, the idea of this, again, it represents that sacrifice, the brown bread being the flesh, the wine being the blood, and then it's mixed together, and it's normally sprinkled. Now, this comes from old rituals known as blotting. And what would have happened was the animal or the person would have been sacrificed to the spirits, basically, and the blood was normally sprayed over the shrines or statues of the gods, of the spirits of, the particular gods that the sacrifice was made to, and it was blessing the statues and pleasing them, and which you see Roman Catholics, the Roman Catholic priests with holy water, they normally spray holy water. This actually comes from that. It actually comes from blotting. Right, yeah. So, Mr. Robin Artisan, he has a great section on the red mill. He's gonna, but I'll be honest, there are quite a lot of things that I don't really, I don't really see eye to eye with. I have a completely different way in which I practice traditional witchcraft, but this is his way, and this is his current, and his particular blend, even, his particular tradition or branch of witchcraft. And that works for him, and that's great. But when it comes to the red mill, he has a good part to say on this. He's talking about what happens in the red mill when the person eats the bread or drinks the wine or alcohol. When this happens, not only have the portions been blessed by taking physical food and drink into their bodies, which was blessed with the power or powers of otherworldly beings, but the beings themselves also eat a portion, forming a perfect link with the human participants for the time of the red meal. And ever after, the participants are literally one with the powers unseen through the vessel of the meal. This is why the red meal has more than just a worshipful purpose. This is how it can magnify and empower sorcerous workings. After sharing the meal with powers in the unseen, you are one with them, and your incantations or spells are their words and spells as well. As I said, this was taken from the book The Witching Way of the Hollow Hill by Robin Artisan. There's a very good section on the red mill. I do sometimes read and go to that for a reference in terms of that particular variation. Now, this is a little bit from Traditional Witchcraft, A Cornish Book of Ways by Gemma Gary. My favourite book of all time. Now, this is concerning the Trollhood, or the Troyl rite. The rite of the Trollhood, especially in the home at the hearth, is an important rite that it is wise to observe with some regularity upon the moons and upon Saturdays, being the day of the home, of dealings with spirits and of chthonic forces. The rite provides spiritual strength and nourishment, and maintains the essential bond between the witch and the divine force. The spirit and force is helpful to the work of the witch. The rite also helps to ensure that household spirits do not turn troublesome by the pleasure of shared food left in offering upon the hearth. Now, various authors say as well, in terms of getting rid of the red meal, various authors have different things, For instance, Mr. Robin Artisan says that, this should be given to a tree, or it can be given to a body of water after this is all done. Gemma Gary, she tends to leave offerings on the hearth or sometimes out the back door. I myself, personally, after I've performed the Housle, or in my case the Troyl rite, I will leave offerings at the back door for the spirits, and then I live by a body of water, so I'll normally give this the next day on my way to work to a body of water. In particular, because I don't live in the countryside, unfortunately. I live in a city, so it's quite, I live by a quay, but it is essentially a city. There's the BBC opposite me and Media City, so it's very, it is very modern, it is very urban, and it's not the countryside. Sometimes there is a tree by near where I live that I sometimes do give the offerings to, but more or less a body of water. Now they can also be left upon the triangle of art if any of you have this as well. Yeah, I think, did I say that you can dedicate the Housle or the red mill to a particular spirit? I'm not sure if I did, but yeah, you can do that. So again, to familiar spirits, to ancestors, to the spirits of the land. It's really good for the spirits of the land just to link into them, because say if you are in a woodlands, and then you do the Troyl Rite or the Housle or the red mill to the particular spirits of the woods, they can guide you. They can guide you to a particular way out. You know, you won't get lost or fairy led by the spirits because they're angry that you haven't left them any offerings, because this is what can normally happen. Which is why when I go to a wood, one of the first things I will do is literally get some change out of my pocket and throw it at the first tree I see and make a statement saying to the hidden ones, you know, to the little people who dwell beneath the mounds, I give you this. Or milk as well, I can use milk or honey, and then when I do a ritual, I'll do a Troyl Rite. But I normally do it as a generalised thing. It's normally to the gods, the spirits, the land, the ancestors, the whole shebang. But as I said, you can separate this and make this particular and specific. You know, in terms of alcohol and stuff like that you give to them, this can also be poured over your hearthstone if you have one. Or again, given to a body of water or to a tree. And you can make a statement of intention after you do this. There are a particular number of books and a particular number of sites and blogs on the internet that tell you how to do a red mill. Again, Robin Artisan, you know, he did, you know, from what my knowledge, I have researched this, but the red mill comes from Robin Artisan. However, the Housle comes from Robert Cochrane. It's in the Robert Cochrane letters. Though he wasn't as specific about how to do the ritual as a lot of authors are in their books. So yeah, you know, you can also go online and look for this, and Robin Artisan has a great section on that. Yeah, so that's it so far. The red mill, the Housle, the Troyl Rite. I think that's all I need to say. I'm going to wrap this up because I've been waffling on for about 15 minutes now. But yeah, just as a video for everybody to sort of take from what you can. There you are. So peace, and I hope you have a great season of darkness that is about to come over everybody. Yay. Sorry, I just don't like winter. You know, I love autumn. Summer, I'm completely summer. You know, I'm a very stereotypical gay that way, but winter I tend to struggle with a lot. Though this year I'm making a point of acknowledging winter a lot more and you know, celebrating it rather than fearing it and rather than dreading for it to actually happen and come around. So we'll see what happens. You know, hopefully I won't get seasonal affective disorder. Right, anyway, peace to everybody. I hope, God, I sound like a right hippie. Peace to everybody. But, you know, over and out, and I hope you guys have fun, and I hope you get a lot from this video.